Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. I'm your host Paul Jackson. Thank you for joining us, and it's a beautiful day here in Lancaster, Fairfield County as we tape. A little overcast, but still a lovely summer's day, and here we are in August, so fall can't be that far away. We know that. We hope still the fair is out there. That's why we say, well, the fair is coming. At this point it is. It'll be a junior fair, and it'll be a bit different, and we'll be talking to some folks from the fair here in a couple of weeks, and we'll kind of get an update on that. But we're really honored today to be able to have a whole half hour. Normally we do two segments, 15 minutes each, and we're able to get a couple people in. But we made a score today. We're able to get Senator Tim Schaffer with us for the entire show. And Tim, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Paul.
Tim is a local boy, and we can talk about some of that too. We'll get you've got a lot going on in the Senate. The Senate's been in the news, and that's not always good. We understand that, but the legislature has been in the news lately. But you're a local boy. You've been a rep. You've been a senator. You've gone back and forth. You've been fortunate enough to do that the folks here feel confident enough in you to do that. But you're a local boy, actually, high school at Lancaster.
Yep, class of '81. Proud graduate, proud Golden Gale, and. Yeah, had a great experience here going to high school in Lancaster. Being a Methodist PK, as you know, you moved around a bit, but Dad had a nice long tenure here in Lancaster at the 6th Avenue United Methodist Church, and it's ironic. I decided to settle here because it's such a great town, a great county, and Mom and Dad, when they retired, settled here as well.
I was, and as he indicated, a PK. For those most people know, as a preacher's kid, Tim was one. His father, Orrin Schaffer, was 6th Avenue United Methodist Church minister. And I'm wondering that, and I never talked to your father about his dad was Orrin Schaffer, Orrin and Martha, and I never asked your dad about that, but when you decided to go into politics, was he disappointed that you took such a bad turn from Methodism to go into politics?
I like to say my whole family basically is in some form of public service, and I'm the black sheep. I went into politics, but no, it really was my path. It was very much in a similar path to his, a parallel path to his, and the jobs are actually amazingly similar. Yeah, I do vote on policy issues, that kind of thing, but we do a tremendous amount of constituent service too. We have helped save families, small businesses. We even have an occasional desperation call where somebody is really on the edge. Sure. They've been cut off Medicaid. They don't get their meds anymore, and in a matter of hours, we can get them back on Medicaid to get their meds. And so I tell my staff when I hire new staff in the office, unlike any other job, you're going to save lives in this job.
Yeah. It's we're fortunate to have Lancaster. We have an office with, back when Clarence Miller, we've always had an office here with all the congressmen here. Now Steve Stivers has an office here, and Tim is a local boy, lives in Lancaster, and it's fortunate that we have local people. When you met, like Tim said, if you call his office, get his staff, they know he's from Lancaster, so that probably dings a little bell right there, or Fairfield County anyway.
And my office is any restaurant you want to pick.
Yeah.
So we don't have a budget for offices per se, but
if you see Tim and Lori out.
That's right. Let's have a meeting.
So every show we've done since we came back from the COVID-19 shutdown for a couple of months, every show, every guest, every issue we've talked about has been affected by COVID-19, by the pandemic. And I'm sure your office up there at the State House with you guys all jammed in that big room together, you've been affected by it too.
Absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to my staff. I have two whole staff in the State House office. They, from the first day of the COVID maneuvers that we had to do, the governor shutting things down and all, and the stay-at-home orders, they have worked 10, 12, 14 hours a day, helping people get their unemployment benefits application through, which was a big problem. Our computer system was designed to handle X number.
That's what we heard. It just wasn't geared for everybody.
It was like 10X, the inflow of phone calls and emails. So the staff and the legislature have been really key to helping people get those benefits. So the first 2 months or so, 3 months, they were swamped every day with call after call after call for help. And I was doing what I could from my kitchen table, but our staff is trained on really how to maneuver around the bureaucracy and get this stuff done. So I'm really blessed to have great staff. Fairfield County is blessed to have a great 20th Senate District staff. I'm very fortunate.
If you didn't have it before, I bet you have now unlimited minutes, because I can imagine how much time you've spent on the phone and on the computer talking to individuals, to businesses, to other legislators, to other agencies in the state. That's really what your job has become this time.
Absolutely. When a small family business comes to you and is in desperate crisis, desperate need for help, it's all hands on deck. And that's one thing I say in the office. It's all hands on deck. And frankly, we'll talk in a minute about some legislation I'm introducing. It's delayed that. I mean, the last 3 or 4 months, we have done almost nothing. We've got almost nothing done except unemployment, CARES Act money, trying to get that out the door, trying to help small businesses, trying to help our hospitals like Fairfield Medical Center and some others in my district. It has been all hands on deck, trying to make sure that our institutions and our businesses can stay afloat during this really tough time.
And now, as we talk, there's more money coming from the feds coming down, so it may be geared up for that again. You may be up for round 2.
Right, absolutely. And hopefully it'll go smoother this time. Yeah. But, I think back in late February and March, it was a real shock to everybody when you had a sudden stay-at-home order. And I know when I came out, I was reading that. It was, 20 pages or so. I was reading it through and through to make sure that we could navigate it because we had to know what the governor's office and the health department were saying so that we could pass that on to our constituents, because a lot of people didn't know, can I be open, can I not? If I am open, what employees can I have working? What about customers coming into the door?
Day to day.
There was a lot of confusion, so that's a lot of what we do.
Now, you referenced this a little bit earlier, and again, everything in your job for 2 months, your staff, everybody in the whole state legislature, it's been all about the pandemic, and you've had some legislation push back a little bit. What will that be about?
Well, we had
if you can get to it.
Absolutely. A couple of weeks ago, we introduced a new piece of legislation, Senate Bill 348, which restructures the local boards of health. And it adds medical professionals to local boards of health, and every county or community that has a board. And there are different structures out there, but every local board of health will have, under this bill, an extra doc, an RN, and a business person representing the business league or chamber of commerce or whatever is in that community. We want to make sure that these boards of health have the talent on board to be able to analyze the mandates coming from Columbus, from the governor. And so it would also authorize those local boards to be able to say, no, we're going to go our own direction from the state board or from the State Department. We're doing that in the bill because it's important that that local community have a say in their future. Do we need to shut down all communities? Probably not. What do we need to do in different communities? Well, we want
perhaps Sugar Grove is different from downtown Columbus.
Absolutely. We're very different from downtown Columbus. But we want to give that local flexibility. And if we're going to give that local flexibility, we need the medical expertise on that local board to help with those decisions.
And we're seeing some of that now where the schools are starting to go back. They'll be going back somewhere around September 1st. And most schools are some hybrid form of attending a couple days, online a couple days. That's kind of how things look for most schools. Some are going virtual the whole thing, but that's what you're seeing is that maybe Berne Union schools aren't like a Pickerington school or a Cleveland school.
That's a great comparison. Just like we're giving the local school districts the autonomy and the authority to do what's in their best interests, responsibly, of course. We're just going to say to the local health boards, you have that same authority and that same responsibility. And if you want to just say what the State Department of Health says, that's your decision. Your local community is going to be talking to you, so you're going to have that local pressure. Local control is best. And so I think the local decisions will be very, very sound because nobody's going to make a reckless decision. Nobody's going to really go off the deep end, so to speak, and make a decision saying, well, we're going to fly in the face of medical science or anything. So the schools are doing it. They can handle it. There's no reason why our local health boards can't either.
And I think I think it was important that as the feds gave the governors a lot of control here, I think we've all watched far more pressers from the governor than we would have ever watched in our lifetime. We've all seen those. You probably are geared into them really tight, but because whatever he said kind of went for you. As an overview, tough job for the governor.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when you have 88 counties, 11.5 million people, and it's got to be impossible to come up with a policy that's going to help and benefit and protect all 11.5 million, because, like you pointed out, Sugar Grove is very different from downtown Columbus at Broad and High, two very different worlds. And so, you know, it's hard to broad brush paint everybody in the state of Ohio. Yeah. And I think this legislation we're doing with the local health boards will really help recognize that difference in status between our communities. And, you know, again, it lets us make our own decisions.
And I think you referenced that. You probably have had far more contact with the Board of Health in the last 2 months, 3 months than you've had in your entire time.
In some counties,
and I think,
a lot.
and yeah, you have other counties that you deal with too. And I think you see here in Lancaster, Larry Hannon, everybody out there, they've really stepped up.
Yes. Our local boards of health are really critical. And we want to make sure we don't affect, and this bill doesn't affect their ability to shut down a bad operation, a troublesome restaurant. And I remember several years ago we had a church potluck somewhere where I think it was bad potato salad or something, and we had a fatality from that. So we're not changing a lot of sickness. A lot of people got sick. So we're not changing that authority. We want to make sure they're protecting the public in that way. But you know, to be able to just broad brush all 88 counties and say stay home for the next 6 months, we need some local decision making, local expertise there.
And I think it's been a good thing as the feds let the governor make the calls. You guys have let 88, and I'm sure there's some issues there because every health department is a little bit different.
Right.
Perry is different from Fairfield, and Fairfield is different from Franklin. But these are the people that know their counties the best.
Absolutely, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's why we have local boards of health. They know the communities, they know the counties, or whatever the territories they cover, a lot better than anybody out of Columbus is going to understand.
Sure. Our guest is State Senator Tim Schaffer. He's been kind enough to stay with us. Normally we'd have to say goodbye, but we're able to keep Tim for another segment. We're going to take a break and be back, talk more legislation, more things going on in the state of Ohio with State Senator Tim Schaffer in just a moment.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area, where the fountain is, and the memorials, and the flags, and all this stuff. And we looked around, and I said, there's our bank, right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. And the employees are happy here. They're conversant. Customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Dagger Law has been part of the Lancaster community for more than 110 years. This is where we live and work. You'll see us at festivals, sporting events, and all around town. We consider our clients as friends, and we walk alongside you through challenging times. Whether you're a growing business, a changing family, facing litigation, planning your future, or dealing with land issues, we're right here. We are local. We are trusted. We are experienced. Dagger Law.
Fairfield Medical goes the extra mile to give attention to their patients, to their guests, anybody that comes within those doors.
There's no question that the staff there are all personally invested in seeing that I got the best care possible.
The staff was so comforting. I felt like she was in the best hands.
They basically gave me a second chance at life, and I'm going to make the most of it.
Back with State Senator Tim Schaffer, and one of the things that we talked about schools going back, and they're all going back in a different pace, and hybrid versus all in, all out. One of the things that everybody is talking about is, and have talked about for, I'll bet you 20 years since the DeRolf decision down in Perry County, how it's affected has been broadband availability.
Right.
How that's somebody perhaps in Upper Arlington has it better than maybe a new Lex would have it, as we talked about Lancaster versus downtown. That's something that you're addressing now too.
Absolutely, and I've got an interesting district in that it's part suburban to Columbus, ex-urban, getting further away from the big city, and then very rural, the further east and south you go. So the more I have explored some of those more distant counties that are east and south of the central city, I've discovered that we haven't really made a lot of progress in broadband deployment. So I've teamed up with Representative Carfagna in the House, who is carrying the main broadband bill, House Bill 13, to make sure that we can accelerate this legislation as quickly as we can to get help out to those communities. And what that bill basically does is it puts out the bid. It uses some state money to put out to bid proposals to the various broadband service providers, bids, and ask for bids to come back and tell us, hey, how would you implement this in the more rural areas of our state? We've got to get that out there. Broadband is the great equalizer.
It's critical.
Just like 50, 60, 70 years ago, the highway system with 4-lane highways and interchanges, the interstate system was a great equalizer between the states that had a lot and states that didn't. Now broadband is that new highway, and it's the information highway, and we need to make sure that it is available to the kids and the businesses in the areas of the state that don't have 500,000 people in one county.
Yeah. So as a state senator who again has some urban, some suburban, and further out areas, you can personally see the difference in broadband just in your own area.
Absolutely. With the challenges with COVID this spring with the schools, we had a number of folks call our office and say, "Hey, we got the assignments, but we have to go sit in a restaurant parking lot, or the library's closed, so we sit in the parking lot of the library where our kids are online doing lessons." Could you imagine doing all your homework sitting in a car?
Oh boy!
Instead of your desk at home or your kitchen table or whatever. So we really need to do a better job. And what's really upsetting to me is Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia have surged ahead of us and drawn down federal money and deploying broadband technologies to the rural hills and valleys, and a lot of it is the challenge of the hills and valleys.
Sure.
And we have that here in Southeast Ohio.
Sure.
It's beautiful. They're gorgeous hills and valleys, but it makes it difficult to get that signal.
The glacier made it difficult.
The glacier made it beautiful, but difficult to get that signal in. So that's what we need to overcome. And if Tennessee and Kentucky and West Virginia figured it out, we can figure it out.
And
so
that's where you're working on.
Absolutely. And so I'm trying to help Representative Carfagna in the Senate to advance that bill and get that bill done before the end of the year.
That's a challenge because, like I say, I don't even know how long ago that DeRolf decision came in. It's been at least 20 years.
1997, I believe.
Yeah, so it was down in Perry County, and we had some DeRolfs here, so there was a little connection here.
Right.
But here we are this many years later, and it's still an issue.
Yeah, that certainly is an issue. We've done a lot of things with school funding since then.
Sure.
It's not perfect, but when you have 132 legislators in between the two houses and a governor, 133rd person, and y'all got to agree on something, it's difficult. It's like a family agreement. You may not always get what you want.
The pot of money is only...
yeah, but as long as you're moving that ball forward another few yards or another 10 yards every chance you can, that's been good progress. But yeah, when it comes to broadband and the accessibility for equally for all kids across the state, we're really at a disadvantage. So we need to fix that.
And I think we're kind of spoiled here in Lancaster. I mean, anytime you want something on your phone, you just go to it, punch a button, and you've got it. You've got your laptop, you've got your desktop at home, your iPad, anything you need here. But I think that's what's key. Understand that everybody doesn't have that.
I was talking to Congressman Balderson, Troy Balderson, the other day, and we had a Library Council webcam presentation together, and he and the head librarian in Zanesville were talking about they lived on the same ridge, and to get a cell signal, they had to go outside the house, top of the ridge, and hold the phone a certain way.
It's like an old TV antenna trick.
Exactly. I mean, you're twisting those rabbit ears. So, we need to move beyond that.
Yeah.
We need to get families access.
And, as Tim and I have talked, the pandemic has consumed everything you're doing right now for months. But there's other things going on in your life. You have to be able to multitask.
Absolutely.
As a state senator, there's other pieces of legislation going on. I know you've got some things going on with ODNR.
That's right. We have a wonderful opportunity in the state of Ohio, in Morgan and Muscatine counties primarily, where we're buying 31,000 acres of AEP-owned land.
Oh.
If you're a sportsman, you're probably familiar with it because you've hunted or fished out there or camped.
Mining
or
land.
Hiked. Old mining land that's been reclaimed. Yep.
Yes.
And 31,000 acres. This is a game changer when it becomes a state park for Ohio. We are going to surge ahead of other states in terms of awesome state parks. This is going to rival some national parks. The problem is that we're working through right now is when we do that, that pulls all that land off the property tax rolls.
Oh.
So for the Morgan County schools, for example, it's about 5% of their budget. We can't do that.
Usually it's about the money.
Well, we can't rip 5% of the books and the chairs and the buildings away from those kids and say, here, go do the best you can. For a couple townships where the land is actually at, it's about 50% of their budgets. So if you want anything repaired in that township, if you want any whatever, with the county itself, it's about 5%. If you have to call 911, which we have to be responsive to, I mean, you're going to have 31,000 acres with lots of people on it, being also from out of state. Somebody calls EMS, we have to respond. So we're working through, and what this legislation does, Senate Bill 333, is it simply says the state general fund and ODNR through its appropriations will replenish to the local governments the money they're losing. And we have to do something because we cannot take a chance at EMS not being able to respond, a volunteer fire department not being able to respond, the sheriff not being able to respond.
One time wrong.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And that's not doing the people of Ohio right.
Sure.
So it's a great opportunity, but with the opportunity comes a price to make sure that we're making those governments whole.
And it's like everything else. It's a challenge. It's a give and take.
It is.
We've got a great thing at the end, but how do we get there?
Exactly.
And I can remember when they developed the wilds, which was over in Zanesville area, which was those kind of lands. Those kind of things came up then. How do we take this, and even though it's given to us, what do we do now?
Yeah, and that's a great example because this land backs up to the wilds.
Okay.
So you're going to have, just imagine the programs and the wonderful land, the opportunities you're going to have when this is developed. You're going to have the wilds here and this AEP land there. It's going to be a massive, massive, beautiful park, and the wilds.
That'd be nice.
I've been there already in my first year in the Senate. What an incredible place.
Oh.
So yeah, we need to protect them as well to make sure those local government services are available.
Yeah. State Senator Tim Schaffer is kind enough to join us today. We're talking about all things legislature, and we talked a good bit about the pandemic, but of course there are other things going on. And right now you are involved in something, and some of the talk recently has been about some things going on in the State House, and we all know the story there, but you're actually doing some things to try to help the public understand that, kind of get away from some of this dark money.
Right. No one has really ever totally understood what the dark money is, where it comes from,
I
how
thought it
works.
was just me. I didn't know.
It's very confusing,
Yeah,
but it's always been hanging out there.
Small
that
print
this
at the
is
bottom
not,
of that.
Exactly. I think our instincts say this has never been right, and sure enough, we realize now it's not right. So we're going to pass legislation that identifies the donors to these dark money groups. Constitutionally, we can't restrict how much they spend or that kind of thing, but what we can do is attach a name to that check.
A real name.
A real name of somebody, whoever that donor is, so that you don't have this mysterious dark money, massive expenditure anymore that is throwing our elections. That's something we should have done a long time ago. We've heard about this dark money thing in the last several years, and I've even asked questions about, well, how does this work? How can they do that? Because every expenditure I make, I have to, or every contribution my campaign takes in, I have to identify who it is, and we have a lot of rules associated with that.
Bookwork.
And then very meticulous, and every expenditure has to be meticulously accounted for. And then this dark money thing is just all mysterious. It's not right. It's not right. So we're going to get that fixed. So that's going to be the first of several, I think, pieces of legislation you're going to see come forward out of the current scandal in the House, so we can get affairs in Ohio straight and get it right.
I think that's important because I think locally we should expect that.
Absolutely.
From our state legislature.
Absolutely.
A friend of mine and a good friend of yours, Gene Wood, just retired from the recorder's office up in the hill.
Right.
And over the years, I know Gene, everything he took in, every time he gave a gift, a donation, or got a gift of some kind, won something, everything had to be,
right.
All your ducks had to be in a row.
Right.
And it's hard for local people like us then to say, well, gee, we have to put down when we get a dozen golf balls, but somewhere out there, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more, kind of unaccounted for.
Absolutely.
And there's no reason for that.
There really isn't. When we're talking about
tough.
Electing office holders, policymakers, everything needs to be above board. Everything needs to be visible, and I like to say, a lot of good sunlight sanitizes politics. So we're going to shine a lot of light on this.
Yeah, well, that's good. As you can see, Tim got a lot of balls in the air right now. It's a busy time, as if you don't have enough to do in your day job anyway. Now your day job is at home, and everything is about the pandemic plus all the other things you've got going on.
We have sent $350 million to our local governments, counties, municipalities, townships. We're doing what we can, working with the federal government to make sure we're doing everything possible to keep people in Ohio whole.
And how does anybody get a hold of your office?
Just call 614-466-8076 or email SD20, stands for Senate District 20, at ohiosenate.gov, or they can just call me at home, 654-0007.
How many legislatures do you get to get at home? That's pretty good.
Again, we don't have local offices, so.
Yeah. Tim Schaffer, our state senator, been with us. Thanks so much, Tim. Got a lot going on, doing a great job up there. I know anytime we need to contact you, you're more than helpful for that.
Thank you,
We
Paul.
Appreciate your availability very much.
Absolutely.
You and your staff do a great job.
Well, you do too. Thank you.
Appreciate it. State Senator Tim Schaffer joins us. A great show on all things legislature, Senate, and otherwise here on Fairfield Today. Thanks for joining us.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.